All right, today we are taking a look at a watch that has a lot of design cues that are popular in today's watch market. And today we're going to take a look at the Rotary Regent. So a quick unboxing. This is pretty standard outer box, inner box. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the watch itself. Standard box. And here it is. That's interesting. Fully wind before you use. So it has a standard booklets in here. So we'll go ahead and skip that and go right into the watch. So the brand Rotary has been around for quite a long time. As far as I understand, it has kind of changed, not names, but as far as I understand, it has had some internal changes. And now it's, as I know it, a predominantly British brand that creates a huge array of different designs and different watches at different price points. And this is one of their automatic watches that have, peel this out, that has become pretty popular and with good reason. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this does take just right off the bat some cues and designs that are very popular in today's market, namely the bezel like this kind of bezel, the integrated strap or bracelet option. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Trying to wind it. I'm not exactly sure why, but the sticker did say that, so I don't want to risk it. Here it is. As you can tell right off the bat, I do see the dial is kind of eggshell like almost. It's not a glossy finish, which is I actually quite like that. My initial thoughts is a very well executed design. It's nothing too out there, and it's done well. Applied indices. You can tell there's going to be loomed hands, loomed indices. I always appreciate an outline around the date window. So it does have an exhibition case back. And I do believe this uses a Yoda movement, though going through their website, it doesn't specifically state it. So this watch is available in different variants. There is also there's a black variant, and there's a stainless steel bracelet variant to this. So as you can see, this does have an integrated strap, where the other variant would have just a standard bracelet. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of integrated anything. I'm a big strap fan, and I like changing things up. And this will pretty much have you tied into this one strap, unless you can get something custom made for this kind of lug here. But it does give a nice design, a nice feel to the watch, that it's become very popular today. So I personally, it's not a deal breaker for me. So you can see the case is actually very high polish. Everything reflects off of it. But the top here, the bezel and what seems to be the top of the case here is brushed. So it does create a nice contrast between the high polish and the brush here. So water resistance, you are looking at 100 meters water resistance. Lug width, obviously it's a unique lug width, so it's not standard. Case diameter, you're looking at 40 millimeters with a lug to lug of 48. So the integrated aspect of it will add quite a bit of size to it. You can get this for around $400, I think a little bit less if you go gray market. Which to me, I see these kinds of designs often in a lot of the micro brands, and while they might be a little more expensive or a little more affordable, I rarely see this from an established brand for like Rotary. So if I were in the market for something just like this, I would probably go with this option, mainly because I know I'm getting a quality brand that's been around for a long time. So overall, I'm a fan of this. I especially like the dial, the dial aspect that I mentioned early on. I've actually gotten to review the black version of this. It's in my YouTube channel if you want to take a look at it. And I gotta say, I do like this version a bit more. It's a nice three-hand design. It's kind of not dressy, but it's not specifically sporty with if you were to just put the dial somewhere else. So it gives a nice balance between sporty with the case and a more dressy design with the dial. But let's go ahead and do some size comparison and see how this holds up. So I decided to bring out this Serica here, mainly because it has a very similar high polished to brushed bezel aspect to it. It is a bit smaller at 37 millimeters, and I do have a review on this also if you want to take a look at it. But again, keep in mind, the Serica is a 37 millimeter, and it does seem to wear smaller, but not too small compared to the Rotary. The Serica does use a hand-wound movement, so it's going to be quite a bit thinner. And speaking of the thickness, you can see how there's a layer there between the case and the bezel. Quite like that. And I decided to bring something a little bit bigger that most people do know the size of it, and is a Seiko turtle. And clearly you can see how the turtle it's just enormous next to the Rotary. So if you're able to wear this one, you're pretty much able to wear the Rotary no problem. It's quite a bit thicker too, but again, this being a dive watch, that is to be expected. Now let's go ahead and do some Lume shots to see how this one holds up. So I did go a little bit darker here, just so we can see the Lume a little bit better. There it is. It's definitely green, even though on the camera it does look a little bit on the blue side. It's definitely green, evenly distributed. I like that every indice is lumed. Nothing bad to say about the Lume. I like it's applied well. The indices are slim. Very, very well done here. So let's compare it here to some other watches like the Serica. And this is why I mentioned that every indice. The Serica does not do that. And even though the Serica is quite a bit more expensive, it's a different design, so I won't fault them for that. But just to reiterate, the price point of the Rotary is about $400, so I think for what you're getting, it's not the best value, but it's also not, I wouldn't say it's overpriced at all. And of course, it's compared to Seiko, which is pretty much the king of Lume. Let's see how that holds up. You know, the Lume isn't too much brighter on the Seiko. It's just, it appears so because there's more of it. But I'm pretty impressed by the Rotary's Lume, how long it's lasting and the strength of it. So again, if you're in the market for something like this, if you're in the market for one of these cool different designs that are becoming more popular every day, you should consider this one as an option to scratch that itch. It's a good price point, you're getting a solid brand, and you have a couple of different options at this too. I quite like this one. Let's go ahead and throw it on the wrist and see how that wears. So on the wrist, it does wear a little bit bigger than I would have thought. The integrated part does pop up a little bit. So while this is a 40 millimeter, it will wear a little bit longer than that. That being said, the thickness of it does help. It's quite thin, so it wears, you know, pretty much just like most integrated bracelet watches, where it wears long but flat on the wrist. It's a great size, even for me with a very small wrist.